Welcome, lovely souls, to another amazing video from the Move Beyond Trauma Summits. My name is Mariam Milani. I'm your host, and today we have Lisa with us. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, thank you for inviting me back.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's start with your journey. How did you become a coach?
I was in therapy towards the end of my marriage, at the end of my rope. I had been to 4 or 5 therapists up until that time. And I was suffering with severe asthma and migraine headaches. I was in the doctor's office all the time. It was just becoming a norm. Oh, I have to go to the doctor. I have to go to the doctor. I have to go to the doctor. And one day I had a really horrible asthma attack. I was breathing with less than 20% of one lung. And the allergist said to me, "You better listen to your body because your body is listening to you." And I just looked at him like, what the hell does that mean? I'm supposed to be listening? Like, what do you mean? Because my entire childhood, I was taught that who I was irrelevant. I was taught that I was selfish. I was bad. If I cried, I was a drama queen. I was looking for attention. And then if I stuffed my emotions, I was a cold fish. I had no feelings. I didn't know how to be. So it was detached from the self and just live in the 3D world, fawning, people pleasing, and trying to figure out what other people need so that I could be what other people needed. So I didn't have to deal with constant rejection and constant criticism. And when you live that way, you don't know you're living that way. You don't know you're in a survival strategy. You don't know that you're disconnected from the true self. You have no clue. And so when I began dating and this person asked me to marry him after 6 weeks, I said, sure, you like me? That's awesome. This is just a wonderful thing. There was no conscious thought about, do we get along? What are our values? Forget it. You just accept me. Great, fine. So throughout the marriage, I didn't know that I was codependent. I didn't know that I was trying to please him. I didn't know that I didn't feel good enough. I didn't know what passive aggressiveness was. I didn't know what stonewalling was. I didn't know what gaslighting was. So when I was getting treated this way, it was just a mirror from my childhood. So I didn't recognize it as being wrong. Mm-hmm. My narrative is, I'm bad. That's why he's treating me this way. He must be right. I am a negative person. And so the love that I had wasn't able to flow. My soul wasn't able to grow. I was just stuffing. So of course I had dis-ease. So I developed asthma and migraine headaches, but that really set me on the path to listening to myself in a way that I had never done before. And from that moment on, I was saying to my husband, something's wrong. We need to go to therapy. And he said to me, I'm not crazy. You're the one that's unhappy. You need a therapist. You're a wacko. You're a flake. And I thought, oh God, okay. So I'm going to therapy. With or without you, I have to do something because I'm a mess. I was at the end of my rope. And after the first session, he asked me a couple of questions like, do you have any alcoholism in your family? And I first said, no, my parents don't drink. And he said, that's not what I asked you. And I went, ooh. He centered me immediately. He was so grounded. I was scared because my mind was like racing all over the place. And this man had such presence. And he said, listen to the question. I was okay. And he said, is there any alcoholism in your family? And I said, well, yeah, both sets of my grandparents. And I said, I don't know if it matters, but my dad's mom committed suicide. And he said, all of this matters. He said, you were raised by 2 unrecovered adult children of alcoholics. And that's why you're codependent. And he said, you are suffering from depression and codependency, but you're depressed because of codependency. And it didn't compute because I was like, what I learned about codependency when I was in college was it was related to being married to someone who had alcoholism. And my ex didn't drink. So it didn't compute. But I trusted him and I just read everything I could about codependency. And boy, oh boy, was I codependent. And from there, I read the first couple of pages of Codependent No More and I shut it because I was so afraid because I thought, oh, if I learn this, there's no going back. I'm going to have to do something. And that's what happened. Once I could appreciate my part in my dysfunctional marriage, I had become very reactive, very unsettled. I was very angry by that time, very frustrated. I was losing myself more and more and more. And when I realized that I had enabled his behavior, that I had been fawning, that I hadn't set boundaries, that I liked being in control of a lot of things, and he just handed me control. And when I got sick of it and said, I don't want to do this anymore, he was shocked. And then he got angry, and then it was just a mess. But when I said, I will take responsibility for my side of it, he got angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier because he couldn't control me. I wasn't doing the dance anymore.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point where I said, we have to end this. This is not going to work out. And I took the 3 little kids and started a new life. And that's how the journey began. I wrote The Road Back to Me many years ago and published it in 2012. And from there, people started emailing me, wanting me to talk to them. So back then, I was just talking to people. And then someone who was promoting my book said, it's time to get certified. And so that's when I became a life coach and just went into this full time.
Oh, wow. And I'm so happy that you did.
Thank you. So am I. I didn't realize at the time that it would, develop into such a platform and coaching programs, but there's such a need for it because people are unhappy. They're dying in miserable relationships. They are afraid to confront what they need to confront. And I think it's because they just don't know how. They don't know. They want to get out, or they want to set a boundary, or they want to confront it, but they don't know how. And the other thing is, I think that's why labels are so important. So if we can identify ourselves as adult children of alcoholics, or if we were raised by a mom who had borderline personality disorder, or a mom who was codependent, or a dad that was narcissistic, if we can use those labels and help us understand how we are, that helps us understand the big dynamic. And then little by little, we find breadcrumbs that lead us to the path. So I think these are important conversations to have.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So as we know, when we have traumas in our childhood, doesn't matter, sexual, physical, emotional, and some of us, we have all of those, right? Our brain is then wired differently. Even our body works differently, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us about codependency and how do we know if we have it or not? Because I know many of us going through an abusive childhood, we know that something is like, it's not working for us. We are triggered easily. We are overwhelmed by everything so easily. And we end up in unhealthy relationships again and again and again. So how do we know if that's what we have? Is it codependency or?
I think that for me, what happened is when I started to read the symptoms of codependency, that's how I was able to identify. So if you ask yourself, do you feel good enough? Do you feel guilty when you take care of yourself? Is it hard for you to say no to others? Are you most comfortable fawning? Are you the first one to say, I'm sorry? Are you unable to hold on to this boundary like, wait a minute, that was wrong, that was abusive, and you know what? I'm not saying I'm sorry. That person's going to have to apologize. Their behavior is going to change. Is that hard for you to do? Is it easier for you to seek approval, or do you seek approval? When you go out and you get dressed for the day, is you're thinking, I hope they like it. I hope he likes it. I hope they compliment my lipstick. Are you looking for people to validate you? Do you need it? Are you uncomfortable when people don't do what you think they should do? You have a friend who's in trouble and always complaining about a boyfriend, and you jump right in to save her. You feel great. That person's listening to you. You have a purpose. And then your friend goes and does the exact opposite. Are you angry? Do you stonewall your friend? Are you upset that she didn't listen to you? Lots of us feel like we're not good enough. And we've learned that when we figure out what someone needs and we jump in with our cape on and we rescue them, we find purpose. We find purpose because we don't have a self. It's a loss of selfhood. Because as children, we felt invisible. Or we were taught that what we thought and what we felt and what we needed was irrelevant. We got the feeling like we were a burden. it's not easy for us to ask for help. We never ask for help. We're going down with the ship and we're not asking for help. Or we are struggling and we need to take care of the self, but we will worry about the person next to us first before we put on our own life preserver and oxygen mask. Mm-hmm. So we live a life of servitude. We live a life of subjugating our needs for the sake of others. We do not speak up. We stay in safe careers, even though our heart has a passion. Our heart has a passion. But we're so afraid of what our family is going to say, or what our boyfriends are going to think, or what our wives are going to say. We're so afraid of being chastised because we have so much shame. Mm-hmm. We have so much shame for not ever feeling good enough. So we tend to play it safe. Sometimes we can be envious of people who actually go out and do what they say they're going to do, because we feel stuck by our own limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And we could be even angry at ourselves. Why am I jealous of that person? I shouldn't be jealous of that person. So unlike a narcissist who doesn't care that they're jealous and envious, right? They just hate people who are successful. Someone who's struggling with codependency will be aware that I probably shouldn't be feeling that. And I wish I wasn't feeling that, but I'm feeling that and I don't know why. So they'll even have guilt over feeling envious over their friend who has the courage to go out and do things and change careers and, try a different pair of shoes on once in a while. Codependents like to play it safe. And so I think if you relate to those ideas, if you end up in relationships that are toxic and you should end them, but you don't, right? And you're defending an abuser, you're making excuses for the abuser and you shouldn't be, I think it's time to investigate whether or not you have issues with codependency and why. Because if you can understand why I'm codependent, the how becomes easier. The how becomes more doable to get out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, that's really important to understand why, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because then the healing path would be different, right?
Oh, yeah. I think once I understood why I was codependent, I was raised to feel invisible. I was raised to feel like my feelings didn't matter. I saw my mom cater to my father. That's a woman's role. It's a woman's role to keep her man happy, even if he's an alcoholic and a gambler and a thief. Stick by your man. You can never, ever call him out on anything. He can say whatever he wants to you, but you can't say whatever you want to him. So these were all the rules that I grew up with. And once I understood, why I was codependent, then it was like, oh, okay, I grew up feeling invisible. So then I can't be invisible to myself anymore. I have to honor myself. I have to see myself. What does that mean? Holy crap. I have to start changing my inner conversations. What do I think? How do I feel? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do today? What are my passions? What are my belief systems? What are my deal breakers? I have to start having these conversations with myself so I could heal this invisibility, so I can feel seen. Because only when you're able to see yourself can you bring your true self forward, right? So I had to start really doing that inner work. So when I understood why, it was like, okay, now I have the how. Mm-hmm. Because once you understand why you're codependent, then if you reverse engineer it, and it comes from feeling disowned, or it comes from feeling invisible, it comes from feeling shamed, then you have to reverse that within yourself. Your inner dialogue has to change. So no more, you're stupid. You're unworthy. You deserve this to happen. You have bad luck. All that has to change. You have to eradicate that negative self-talk, and you have to reprogram yourself. I'm a human being. It's okay to make mistakes once in a while. I failed, but you know what? It means I'm trying. So you start to give yourself everything that you should have received as a child, the compassionate self-talk, the empathy that you never received as a child. Never. Empathy, what's that? What's that? So you start to give yourself what you never received. It's a process because you have to become more and more aware of your codependency traits, which is metacognition. Mm-hmm. You have to be aware of your triggers when you're starting to panic, when you go into the fawn response. One of the biggest things we struggle with is, don't be mad at me. Please don't be mad at me. We get sick and we can't make an event. Don't be mad at me. I have COVID. We feel guilty because we got COVID. because someone's disappointed in us and we beat ourselves up. Do I really have COVID? Maybe I really don't have COVID. Like we beat ourselves up constantly. We question ourselves. So developing metacognition, which is awareness, self-awareness, being aware of the way you think, is you coming out of survival mode and out of the fawning response, out of the people-pleasing response of codependency. It takes time, but it's worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you were talking, I remembered back then all the things that you mentioned, especially feeling guilty or being in this space of, did I do something wrong? Yeah. It wasn't just with my ex-husband. It was with everybody. I remember that I would text someone, a friend, a colleague, something like very normal. I would ask them, I had a question, and then they wouldn't answer. And I would be checking the text 3, 4, 10 times to make sure if I did say something wrong or, right. Oh my goodness, maybe the way I said it was wrong. Yep. Maybe the way, and it was really exhausting to live like that.
So exhausting. And we're running from, when I was working through that process, because I felt wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I was always checking everybody's emotional temperature. Are you mad at me? Are you okay? Was I a good girl? Because I grew up feeling like a bad girl. And so now as an adult, I'm going to make sure that you think I'm a good girl. Because I thought that was the answer. And that is maddening, because that means that I'm living to make everybody in my world happy. So if my son's kindergarten teacher wants 30 cupcakes, I don't make 30 cupcakes, I make 200. And my daughter's 5th grade teacher wants me to read to a child during the day. I don't take on 1 kid, I take on 3 kids. See, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And it's us trying to push off the shame from childhood. We're running from the shame, and that has to be healed, because first of all, we survived it already, right? And if we don't get off this wheel, we're going to perpetuate this, and we're going to attract people that exploit it, which is really bad, really bad. And we have to get to a point where we realize that this is why we are this way. This is why we have shame. And we have to decide for our soul, for our divine self, no more. I'm going to give birth to my true self. And that means I have to start dealing with the shame. And what is dealing with the shame? It's embracing it, understanding why it's here. Just completely imagining like shame is like this little ghost. And it's your job to just wrap your arms around the shame and say, you don't want to be here any more than I want you to be here. And it's not your fault that you're here. Someone gave you to me, and I'm ready to release you. And then we have to practice not shaming ourselves.
Yeah.
Future. But you're right. You always feel wrong, and it is exhausting. And you'll go to bed, right? You'll have a conversation with someone, they didn't answer you the right way, and you're thinking about it for 2 weeks. Like, what did she really mean about that? What does she really mean? You're losing weight over it, right? Or you're eating too much over it, and people think you're crazy. Well, I don't know if I said it the right way. She responded this way, but it sounded like she was upset. No one's upset with you, Lisa. And you don't know it's your inner child that is terrified that they upset mommy and daddy, or that they're going to get beat or yelled at or scream or banished from the family. You don't know that's why you're doing this. It's exhausting.
Exactly. And you mentioned a very, very important point. And I think it can be really healing, because I remember one of the mantras that I started having, and it helped me so much, was exactly telling myself, I'm a good girl.
That's right.
If you want to end this relationship, friendship, whatever, with this person, you still are a good girl. Right. If you want to stay, if you want to live, if you what. And I kept telling myself, even when I would be like, oh my God, I made a mistake. You're still a good girl. You just made a mistake. And it was really helpful, because deep down, I believe that people like us who have been traumatized in our childhood, and we didn't have that support. We didn't have that caring, loving caregiver to hold us and tell us that you are a good girl. It's okay if you made a mistake, you are a good girl. And because we didn't have that, we need to create that space for an experience for ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, my mantra was, you are enough, you are enough, you are enough. Lisa, you're enough. You're enough. Even if no one thinks so,
Ah,
you are enough. Even if people say you're not, you are enough. And that really helped me, and understanding, expanding this idea of me as a being to the quantum level, right? At the quantum level, we're all light, right? And whoever created these mammoth trees and these mammoth waterfalls created me,
mhm.
right? So it's not my fault that I had this trauma. It's not my fault that I developed this reflex to fawn and to be afraid. It's not my fault that my brain was in survival mode. I didn't create survival mode. I didn't create trauma. I didn't create the amygdala and the hippocampus. I didn't create that. I'm just doing the best that I can. This person plumped or plopped into this flesh body that reacts this way. I'm doing the best that I can. And so it was very healing to say, you're enough. And then when you reflect, part of the codependency recovery is thinking about how you may have contributed unconsciously or unknowingly to a dynamic. That's another layer of you're enough, self-forgiveness. And you're right. Those of us who have had a healthy parent that was attuned to their child and could see that their child was struggling with shame, a healthy parent doesn't monopolize on that. They don't exploit the shame in a child and try to manipulate the child into shutting up because they're crying. They embrace the child. You had a tough day. It's okay. What did you learn? It's totally fine. You're good. You're enough. It's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's go out. Let's go do this. Let's do that. And then I know, I'm programmed to know what self-forgiveness is. I only know to self-forgive if someone's offered me forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's a primary caretaker, it comes naturally. But if when I had a vulnerable moment and a primary caretaker exploited it, I hide myself. I'm afraid to be vulnerable with you. I'd much rather just show you the parts of me that are smiling all the time and pretty when she wakes up in the morning. The person that's always so kind. I'm only going to show you that person. I'm not going to show you when I'm pissed. I'm not going to show you when you've crossed a boundary. I'm just going to stuff that. I'm just going to stuff that. Because I learned early in my childhood that if I tell you what I really feel, there's more pain. So below the veil of consciousness, my brain learns very quickly, don't touch that red button. That's going to hurt. Do this instead. Tone yourself down. Pain versus pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I remember that back then, one of the things that I would do, because I wouldn't let myself to express my emotions, such as anger and
Right.
You're crossing my boundaries, and I wouldn't express that, and I would be always that like, oh, I love you, yes, thank you. Then what would happen with me? I would all of a sudden, block them from everywhere because I couldn't take it anymore, right? And I couldn't have that mask anymore. So I would completely remove them from my life, or I would be just like vanished all of a sudden. And so that's not healthy either, because I know that I missed so many good people from, having good friendships just because I kept tolerating what I didn't want to. And all of a sudden it got to the point that, okay, shut down everything. Bye.
Well, that was survival based on your level of awareness at the time.
Yes.
And that's not your fault. It's very difficult to heal. I think it's counterintuitive, because to heal, I have to run towards the forest fire, right? And what my brain is designed to do, my brain isn't designed for happiness. My brain isn't designed for love. My brain is designed for survival. So if I've been programmed as a child that if I express my emotions, there's more pain there. Or if I tell you no, you're going to cut me off, then I'm going to pretend that everything's fine until I can decide no more. Then I block you and now you're confused, but I feel safe because I don't know how to do anything else. And I think a big part of that is, how do we heal? There's so many layers to it. So how do I acknowledge that I do this thing? Goodbye, adios, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I have to acknowledge that I do that. Then I have to go deeper. And why do I do that? Okay, I know. And then I have to go deeper and get in touch. At least this is my modality. Get in touch with the experiences that created that pattern in the first place and heal that part of your soul or your inner child. Heal that so you're freed from it. You're no longer stuck on the karmic wheel of that pattern. Now you're free to do something else. And now you're free to experiment with no. And so I've gotten to a point where I've learned to regulate my emotions so much so that I'm no longer at the tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that anymore because I know what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to think clearly. And I'm going to say things I don't mean. And it's just going to be a mess. I regulate my emotions. I set my intention every day. I meditate. I journal. I take accountability for my feelings. I never talk when I'm really super upset, which I used to do all the time. And so now it's just, I have faith that the right moment's going to come up where I'm going to have that conversation, but I'm going to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it. And I have that conversation lovingly, honestly, and vulnerably. And if that person that I'm talking to laughs in my face or criticizes me or doesn't want to be my friend anymore, I'm willing to accept it because I showed up as my authentic self.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been called to do, in spite of who rejects me, who abandons me, who speaks poorly about me. You can't avoid these things on planet Earth. They're going to happen. And like, if we think they're not supposed to happen, we're going to suffer. When we just say, okay, this is happening, this is what's going on, and I can't control it. But the best thing that I can do is deal with it in the moment lovingly to the best of my ability and accept that not everybody's going to like me all the time. That is a radical mind shift for someone who's struggling with codependency.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the biggest fears that we have, that we are terrified of people not accepting us and liking us. Right? Yeah. So
yeah, and it goes back to feeling rejected and abandoned as a child. That's, a mother or a father withholding love from a child is akin to death to a child. They can't imagine being here. They know that they're defenseless. They know that they're powerless. They know that they need these people. And it's like you're cutting off their oxygen supply. And they will do anything to comply and anything to make up for the trauma of not feeling good enough to be loved. And you get stuck like a record. I'm showing my age, but you get stuck on a record in that trauma, trying to be good enough, trying to be good enough, trying to be good enough. And the odd thing is that when you meet someone who treats you like you're not good enough, you try harder to be good enough and harder to be good enough. No bueno. It's not good.
Yeah. All right, Lisa. So for those our audience that are realizing from your information that, I might have codependency. So where they can start their healing journey, if there are steps, or what do you suggest?
Well, I can tell you where I started. Where I started was with Melody Beattie's book, Codependent No More. It's one of the best known books on codependency. I think it's a really good starting point. I went to Coda, but to be perfectly authentic, I needed more, because Coda was a great place to meet people and I didn't feel alone anymore. And I felt like I had a great support group, but I wanted tools. I wanted to know how to fix it. So I wanted to know, how do I get back in touch with my body? How do I feel my feelings? How do I accept my feelings without guilt and shame? How do I step forward? This is what I think, and this is what I feel in the face of abandonment. How do I handle that stress that creates? How do I reprogram my subconscious mind? Because I've been living out a subconscious program, and I'm below most people think that they're far more aware than they actually are. The mind is 95% more unconscious than it is conscious. We're repeating the same thoughts that we had when we were 7. They're just a little bit more, sophisticated now that I'm 57, but they're pretty much the same thoughts and feelings that I've had my whole life. They've just gotten a little bit more nuanced over time, but I didn't feel good enough at 7. I still don't feel good enough. So how do I heal not feeling good enough? How do I heal the fawning response or the reactive response. That's what I needed to do. So I would say start with Codependent No More. And then if you're, I don't mean to plug my stuff, but I have a 12-week class that teaches all about how to heal from codependency. It's a pretty intense class, and it's all about tools. So I would definitely, and Coda is a great place, especially if you're just beginning. Try to find a 12-step group. But for me personally, I needed more tools to heal from codependency.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And actually, I was going to ask you where people can find you and your amazing programs, because I don't promote anyone or anything unless I am sure 100% that they're authentic and it works what they offer. So where people can find you and the program.
You can find me on my website, www.lisaaromano.com. There's an A in there, so it's lisaaromano.com. And you can just click. We have a new program launching in August. So it's a 12-week class. It's, like I said, it's pretty intense, and my life coaches help me moderate it. And we come together and we dive deep into awakening. The first 4 classes are about awakening. The second 4 classes are about accountability. And the last 4 classes are about ascending these programs and moving forward with a new set of belief systems and practicing what you're learning, putting it into action.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much again, Lisa, for all the amazing information that you shared with us. And also, please remember to follow her on YouTube, because she has amazing videos there. I remember, as I shared with you last time, the first video that I found from your YouTube channel was the I Am Enough meditation. Oh no, healing childhood trauma meditation.
Right.
And I used to sleep with it for many nights.
Awesome.
And you have a healing voice. So yeah.
I really do believe that if our problems are at the theta brainwave level, which is where most of our patterns and programs were stored before the age of 7, I create the meditations with theta brainwaves. To help reach those places within us that hold all those faulty programs. Yeah. So I'm glad they work for you.
Oh, they did. It was amazing. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you, our beautiful viewers. I hope that you enjoyed this information and this conversation. And as Lisa shared, there is hope, and you can absolutely change everything. It's just give yourself one more chance. Even if you have tried so many things with no result or limited result, give yourself another chance, and just keep showing up for yourself, because you matter.
Absolutely. We all matter.
Yeah.
Okay. We've all come here with a song on our heart that's meant to be sung.
Yes, exactly. And thank you so much again. And thank you everybody for being with us, and see you soon. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Yes, you too. Thank you, dear one. Bye.
Bye.